another 1,000.
I admire your courage, Miss...
Trench. Sylvia Trench. I admire your luck, Mr...
Bond. James Bond.
Good morning. My name's Bond. James Bond.
Don't move, Mr. Bond.
Good afternoon.
Can I help you?
Yes, my name is Bond. James Bond. I'm looking for Dr. Goodhead.
You just found her.
A woman?
Your powers of observation do you credit, Mr. Bond?
James. To my friends.
And those are three of his friends, Sean Connery, George Lazenby, and Roger Moore, the three men who played one of the most durable movie heroes of all time, Special Agent James Bond. And on this special edition of At the Movies, we'll be taking a critical look at 007. Across the aisle from me is Gene Siskel, film critic of the Chicago Tribune.
That's Siskel, Gene Siskel. And this is Ebert, Roger Ebert, film critic of the Chicago Sun-Times. Everyone would love to be able to say Bond, James Bond. Johnny Carson did it in one of his monologues not too long ago. I don't know how much serious film criticism we're going to be doing on this show, but it should be a lot of fun. We're going to examine the world's 21-year love affair with James Bond, and as only critics get to do, we're going to each pick our favorite James Bond actor, our favorite James Bond film, our favorite Bond villain, our favorite Bond female beauty. But first, Roger begins by trying to answer the question, why have the Bond films been so popular for so long?
Why has James Bond lasted so long? Why is this character ageless? And why do audiences all over the world keep lining up for every new James Bond adventure? Other heroes have been in a lot of movies. I think the record is probably held by Tarzan, followed by series characters like Charlie Chan and Sherlock Holmes. But those were heroes in low-budget, quickie movies that opened and closed in a few weeks. James Bond has always gone first cabin. From Dr. No in 1962, all the way up to two different Bond movies this year alone, the Bond pictures have been expensive special effects extravaganzas. Not our way to try to answer that question. Let's go back and take a look at the first Bond. Here's Sean Connery 21 years ago in Dr. No.
Suivi.
C'est suivi.
The house will cover the difference.
Bien, madame. Oui, monsieur. Changeur, s'il vous plaît. Carte. Neuf à la banque.
I need another 1,000.
I admire your courage, Miss...
Trench. Sylvia Trench. I admire your luck, Mr...
Bond. James Bond.
Mr. Bond, I suppose you wouldn't care to, raise the limit?
I have no objections.
C'est pas possible, madame. C'est illégal, monsieur.
Now.
C'est suivi, monsieur.
Looks like you're out to get me.
It's an idea at that.
His first appearance as Bond, and 21 years later, Sean Connery in Never Say Never Again.
Wait a minute. You there? Oh. Oh.
I shouldn't have the fish.
C'est toujours comme ça.
You must have an unreasonable fear of gate crashers to carry this heavy artillery. This bomb has a tiny gyroscope inside. Any lateral movement on your part, and you could be served in an egg cup.
Served in an egg cup. I think one thing that's changed over 21 years is that Sean Connery's Scottish accent has gotten just a little bit thicker. I think maybe in those two scenes you get a hint of why James Bond has managed to survive all the gimmicks, all the secret organizations, all the would-be killers and lovers and villains, and all those people that want to control the world. I think it's because of his sense of humor, of the charisma that he takes into a situation, and the self-possession that he has with all those strange things happening around him all the time. The Bond pictures have always been a little ridiculous. I mean, how many megalomaniacs are there who want to control the world? But James Bond always knew they were a little ridiculous, and because he kept his cool and kept his sense of humor, the movies were more than thrillers. They were an exercise in Bond's style, and I think that's what people reacted to, was the style that Bond brought to these situations.
Great style. I can think of three other things. One is, you know, Pauline Kael wrote that book of criticism called Kiss, Kiss, Bang, Bang, those words summing up the essence of movies, sex and violence. Well, these films have a lot of kissing, and a lot of gunplay. And it's marvelous. The other thing is chase pictures. These are chase pictures, and they're very well crafted. A lot happens along the chase. We shift locales from land to sea, and we get different villains along the way. The big bad guy has lots of henchmen. The third thing, and it's why any product lasts so well for a long time, why you buy the same dishwashing liquid year after year, it's because of quality control. And you know in the Bond films that you're going to get good-looking stunts, good-looking women, and a great-looking Bond. And that quality control is very important.
I think there's one thing you're leaving out, and that's the gimmicks.
Right.
I remember in one of the very early Bond pictures, remember that Aston Martin that he had?
Yeah.
And he knew
DB5,
that if he pushed that button, you know, that the other seat would eject.
Right.
Well, what they've done in all the pictures is they have the scene right at the beginning where they set off what I would call, or where they plant depth bombs, in a sense, or time bombs, because these toys are demonstrated to Bond, and then we know that half an hour later, or an hour later, or an hour and a half later, he's going to pull out that magic cigarette lighter and wipe the villain out, and so we wait for those things. And all the gimmicks and toys and science fiction kind of effects are lots of fun.
Okay, all good reasons. Coming up next at the movies, will the real James Bond please stand up? A comparison of the three actors who played Bond seriously, and our choice for the best.
My name is Bond. James Bond. What of it?
Small portions are one way to cut calories. Here's another. The difference is low-calorie Pam. This omelet was cooked in butter. Cook with Pam and eat this much without adding 1 calorie or losing 1 lick of the food's natural flavor. Hash browns cooked in shortening. Cook them with Pam and eat this much without adding more calories. Just 1 spray of Pam instead of butter, shortening, or oil is the difference between this and this. For low-calorie cooking, the difference is Pam.
We're taking away Mrs. Fahey's Clorox bleach for 1 month.
How was your wash without Clorox?
Dull.
Then we asked her to compare items she washed with Clorox a month ago.
The towel that I washed with Clorox looks like a new towel. The towel without the Clorox still looks dirty. It looks like I have to wash it again. If you do it right the first time with Clorox, you don't have to worry about it looking dingy.
Clorox takes away dirt detergents leave behind.
Do you want your Clorox back?
I do. Thank you very much.
Oh, Madge, thanks for coming. Opening night's a madhouse.
Oh, it's closing night for these hands.
Oh, it's dishwashing. What'll I try?
Everything. And use palm olive liquid. You're soaking in it.
Feels soft, like a lotion. Must be mild. But how does it clean?
Great. Makes a whole sink full of thick, long-lasting suds. And palm olive softens hands while you do dishes.
Madge, Palmolive's a smash.
You're just in time for a new opening. Palm olive softens hands while you do dishes.
This RCA Color Track 2000 makes the most of space. See how advanced RCA design lets a 25-inch color track fit into the same space as a 19-inch set, with a picture that's incredibly lifelike. Compared to a 19-inch set, the Color Track 2000 gives you 70% more picture to watch in the same space. We'll open your eyes.
This is the section of the show where we're going to pick the actor who has played James Bond best, and I'm not going to wait. This is a no-brainer. The best James Bond is Sean Connery. And Roger Ebert, if you disagree with me, I'm going to throw you off the balcony, jump off myself, and step on your head.
I don't think that's going to be necessary.
Okay, thank God. But let's see why, by comparing the three actors who have played 007 over the years, starting with Sean Connery in the classic opening scene from Goldfinger.
He's holding on to the 6 of spades, so I guess he thinks you want it. That last draw was the 8 of hearts. He needs kings and queens. Who are you?
Bond. James Bond.
Come on, come on. Ah, that's more like it.
Now hear this, Goldfinger. Your luck has just changed. I doubt very much if the Miami Beach police would take kindly to what you're doing. Nod your head if you agree. Nod. Good. Now start losing, Goldfinger. Shall we say, $10,000? No, let's be generous. Let's make it 15,000.
May I see?
I can see this is really my day. Jen.
After 5 Bond films, Connery retired and was replaced in 1969 by male model George Lazenby in honor of Majesty's Secret Service.
You're full of surprises, Contessa.
So are you, Mr. Bond. Do you always arm yourself for a rendezvous?
Occasionally, I seem to be excellent, Braun. I'll take that if you don't mind.
You're very sure of yourself, aren't you? Suppose I were to kill you for a thrill.
I can think of something more sociable to do. Let's stop playing games. Who was that man in your room?
You're hurting me.
I thought that was the idea tonight. Now, who was he?
I don't know what you're talking about.
I can be a lot more persuasive, Contessa.
George Lazenby lived only once as Bond, then Connery came back for one, and then Roger Moore took over in 1973 in Live and Let Die.
Black Queen on the Red King, Miss...
Solitaire.
My name's Bond. James Bond.
I know who you are, what you are, and why you have come. You have made a mistake. You will not succeed.
Rather a sweeping statement, considering we've never met.
Cards have followed you for me.
Now you get ripped off in Detroit, baby. You yell out to me. You hear?
Is he on? Can't be too careful in New York City these days. Funny how the least little thing amuses him.
Well, those are our 3 nominees for Best Performance as James Bond, and I know some Bond nuts are thinking, hey, wait a minute, you forgot about David Niven in the Bond spoof called Casino Royale. Well, we haven't forgotten. It's just that we're analyzing here and criticizing the 3 guys who played Bond seriously. And is there really any doubt? Connery is smooth and strong, a man's man and a woman's man. Lazenby is a non-entity by comparison. He doesn't cut through the camera at all. All he is now is an answer to a trivia question. As for Roger Moore, he's too prissy, too supercilious, too smug for my taste. I think most men find him to be sort of a fop and a dandy, and I think he's maybe too pretty to be attractive to women. He just isn't rugged enough to convince me that he's a secret agent. Let me put it another way. In his chase scenes, I don't think Roger Moore ever wants to get his nice suit jacket dirty. But I think Sean Connery does. He likes being scruffy and elegant, brave and fashionable. He likes that dirt on that great tuxedo. He could kill and make love in the same afternoon. He's James Bond. Roger Moore is not.
I agree with you on Sean Connery. There will only be one Sean Connery, and he made the role in the first place, and we still identify with him. I think if Robert De Niro went on to All in the Family, people would still miss Carol O'Connor as Archie Bunker. You know what I mean?
I know what you mean.
On the other hand, I think you're being too hard on Roger Moore. I think when I first saw him, I said, well, he's not Sean Connery. I don't see him as James Bond.
Yeah.
He's growing into the role, and also the early Bond pictures were set closer to the earth, closer to reality, and the later Roger Moore Bond pictures have all of these special effects around them in such a way that I think he has to be kind of distant. So it's kind of one of the jokes is that his tuxedo never gets rumpled. So I think Moore is getting better, and I would look forward to the next Moore picture while still agreeing that Sean Connery is the first and probably only in our hearts James Bond.
Okay, and I think it's because I think he plays a tougher guy, and I think that's what some of this world requires. That's what I think.
Okay, next at the movies, a look at Bond's greatest enemies. We're going to pick the best of the Bond villains. And now, the Hall of Infamy, the worst, which is to say the best, James Bond villains. Look at it this way, if it weren't for his enemies, James Bond would be a man with a lot of time on his hands. He'd be talking to Moneypenny all day. And the villains are perhaps the most important single ingredient in a Bond movie after 007 himself. What we have now is our selection of the 4 best villains in all of the Bond movies. And 2 of them come from the same film. That'd be Goldfinger from 1965. And the first villain is Gert Frobe, playing a villain obsessed by gold.
This is gold, Mr. Bond. All my life I've been in love with its color, its brilliance, its divine heaviness. I welcome any enterprise that will increase my stock, which is considerable.
I think you've made your point, Goldfinger. Thank you for the demonstration.
Choose your next witticism carefully, Mr. Bond. It may be your last.
Harold Cicada played Goldfinger's hired killer, Oddjob, the man who wore a guillotine on his head.
I see that it is necessary to remind you. Oddjob! Many people have tried to involve themselves in my affairs, unsuccessfully.
Remarkable.
A villain named Jaws, played by Richard Kiel, starred in 2 Bond movies, Moonraker, and this one, The Spy Who Loved Me.
The key!
Try the big one. Can you play any other tune? Let's try reverse. That's backwards. Would you like me to try it?
The Austrian actor Klaus Maria Brandauer brought a real human touch to the villain named Largo in the latest 007 movie, Never Say Never Again.
You gentlemen, the eternal battle for the domination of the world begins.
We play for dollars.
Random target selection, Spain. Value $9,000. Who wins $9,000?
Gave me a shock.
Oh, I'm sorry, I forgot. Unlike armchair generals, we will share the pain of our soldiers in form of electric shocks. One last point. If you let go the controls, you forfeit the game. As you were unaware of this, we will begin again.
What's interesting there is that most of the Bond villains have been impersonal megalomaniacs, guys with all the personality of an ice cube or an ice pick. But Brandauer, as Largo, was sort of a pathetic guy, kind of poignant. He wanted to rule the world, sure, but he also wanted to be loved by his girlfriend, and he couldn't have it both ways. I think we can make one general statement here. As long as the villains keep on being interesting in the Bond pictures, they can keep right on making new Bond movies as long as they want to. And I guess at this point we're going to pick our favorite villain.
Yeah.
I'm going to surprise you. I'm not going to pick some of those you might think are obvious, like Goldfinger or Dr. No. I'm going to pick Largo, Klaus Maria Brandauer, for this reason. He's the most interesting villain of all in terms of 3 human dimensions. He's not simply an accent and a lot of props.
Well, I'm going to surprise you. I'm going to pick him too, but declare a tie. For the very reason that you mentioned, I think it's the best performance. I think the most interesting character as written is Auric Goldfinger. I love that first name. Auric Goldfinger, played by Gert Frobe, who did a nice job. I just love the whole concept of the world's richest man that loves gold, just dripping in it, you know, laser beams, everything else. So I say the best character is Goldfinger, the best performance, obviously, is Brandauer. He is a marvelous actor. You made a very good point, though. I saw a decline in the Bond movies, along with Roger Moore, with the fact that the villains weren't real threats to James Bond. You knew he could beat them cold, but not Brandauer. Brandauer's tough.
And they never had the scenes where they were interesting because of themselves. It was always, here's what I'm going to do to Bond, here's what I'm going to do to the world.
Yes.
And with this movie, they get back to the idea of the guy and his girlfriend and his own hang-ups and his own life, and then he meets Bond.
Yes, it's a critical reason why Never Say Never Again is so good. Coming up next at the movies, we'll switch the subject from men to women in the Bond films and each pick the most exciting female character in the James Bond series.
Such a delicate touch.
Sheer magnetism, then.
Here's a trash bag like no other. The new Glad handle-tie trash bag. One snap, you've got 2 handles. Just tie them together to close the bag tight. No twist ties to come off. The handles are tough, too. So this bag does a lot more than just hold the trash. This bag helps you get a handle on it. Real sensible. The new Glad handle-tie trash bag makes that long haul to the curb seem shorter. Get Glad handle-tie bags for your kitchen, too.
And now we're each going to pick our favorite Bond beauty. And the nominees begin back with the first Bond femme fatale, 25-year-old Ursula Andress, playing Honeychild Ryder and Dr. No. Bo Derek was in diapers at this time.
Underneath the mango tree, my honey and me.
Who is that?
It's all right. I'm not supposed to be here either. I take it you're not. Are you alone?
What are you doing here? Looking for shells?
No, I'm just looking.
Stay where you are.
I promise I won't steal your shells.
I promise you won't either. Stay where you are.
I can assure you my intentions are strictly honorable.
Another great Bond beauty, Barbara Bach as Soviet agent Anya Amasova in The Spy Who Loved Me.
It's getting cold.
Is there anything I can do to warm you up?
You don't have to worry about me, Mr. Bond. I went on a survival course in Siberia.
Yes, I believe a great number of your countrymen do. What did they teach you?
That it's very important to have a positive mental attitude.
Nothing more practical than that.
Food is also very important.
What else?
When necessary, shared bodily warmth.
It's the part I like.
There are vast.
Our third nominee, Maud Adams, as the title character in 1983's Octopussy.
I'm not for hire.
Oh, a man of principle, with a price on his head. Naturally, you do it for Queen and country. I have no country. I have no price on my head. I don't have to apologize to you, a paid assassin, for what I am. No.
You're right. We are two of a kind.
And our fourth nominee, Barbara Carrera as Fatima Blush in 1983's Never Say Never Again.
How reckless of me. I made you all wet.
Yes, but my martini's still dry. My name's James.
Hello, James. I'm Fatima Blush.
You ski very well.
I do many things very well.
I'm sure you do.
What brings you to Nassau, James?
I'm fishing.
For what?
Anything I can get.
I know the best waters. I'd be very happy to show them to you.
Now, why would you want to do that?
I'd like you to find what you're looking for.
A film critic's job is rough. I don't know, I've got a thing for Maud Adams. I loved her in Tattoo. What can I say? She's sexually exciting, and that's the function, of course, of the Bond woman. So my choice is based upon who excites me the most in the Bond films, and I pick Maud Adams. She's stunning, and yet icy cool, distant. She's great.
I think I'll function as a critic instead of as a libido. I would go back to 1962 and pick Honeychild Ryder, Ursula Andress in the first Bond picture, because she set the style, which was goodbye to the dumb sex pots of the 50s, hello to the charismatic, capable, competent, athletic women of the 60s and 70s and 80s. So she's my choice.
It's a good choice. It'd be my next pick. Now, our pledge to pick the single best Bond film of all.
Goldfinger.
And my choice? Goldfinger.
So, Goldfinger it is, and that's our salute to James Bond. Next week we'll be reviewing 5 new films, including Star 80 with Mariel Hemingway as a Playboy Playmate of the Year whose success leads to tragedy. And until then, we'll see you at the movies.
Pan American, whether it's business or pleasure or a little bit of both, across the country and around the world, Pan Am, you can't beat the experience. America's favorite movie candies are coming home. Now enjoy Raisinets, Goobers, and Snowcaps at home and at the movies. Star attractions for your movie time pleasure. Enjoy delicious all-natural Sous Bee honey at the table, not on it. Shape up any meal with Sous Bee honey in the no-drip table server.
Deal of the Century is a comedy that tries to be funny and make a serious point about the business of selling weapons in the world, particularly in America. And like a lot of films that try to do two things, Deal of the Century accomplishes neither. Chevy Chase stars as a hustler in Latin America selling any kind of weapons.
Now, simply held like this, it's very light, no problem. You sight through here. See anything out there? You should be able to read the serial numbers without much of a problem.
Mira, Roca.
Huh? No, not the moon, not the moon.
Ven acá, ayúdame, Paco.
Down there.
Espera, ok. ¿Puedes ver? Sí, sí. Ay, se puede ver de noche. Mira tú.
Ok, déjame ver.
Vamos a hablar de dinero ahora mismo este hombre. Porque material vamos a tratar algo. Vamos a quitarle.
As you can see, gentlemen, this is very simple to operate. Simply lock the target in the sight, and the rest is, well... easy.
I bet you knew that was coming. Chase gets his chance after that to make a multi-million-dollar deal of the century when a big weapon time salesman dies in his hotel, and Chase is the only one who can make a sale for the American manufacturer. Unfortunately, Chevy Chase's comedy scenes contain few laughs, and the film's serious point that weapon salesmen have more business sense than ethics is almost too obvious to bother stating. Deal of the Century would like to be a wicked black comedy like Dr. Strangelove, but it doesn't come close. And I'm Gene Siskel at the movies.